If you're a data analyst or you're aspiring to become a data analyst or you have just become the data analyst, one question you have in your mind: what do I have to do as a data analyst? And in this video, we are going to learn this. Okay. In this video, we are going to learn what are the responsibilities, day-to-day responsibilities of data analyst are, but I want to showcase something where what actually the outcome is. You can see I have opened this Fast Company blog, how 1 second could cost Amazon 1.6 billion in sales. So you can understand what the data analyst here have done is that they have realized that if the page load of Amazon is 1 second slower, it is actually costing this company as $1.6 billion in sales every second. So you can understand how important this role is, where you're specifically finding out, analyzing the problem. The problem for Amazon was that, okay, our sales are plummeting, our sales are not going at the required pace which we are expecting. What could be the reason? Now, obviously, this comes from the people who have no idea what platform we are running and what is happening in the application. So they specifically found out what is the issue, and now they have actually given a figure. So this thing is available throughout the Amazon, and they understand if we delay the page by 1 second, we can actually lose around $1.6 billion in sales. And let's try to understand what are the responsibilities of data analysts. So in this video, we are going to discuss what are the actual day-to-day activities, and ultimately, like if you receive a project, what is the sort of a final outcome you're supposed to do. Now in this video, we are not going to discuss technically what are the various tools you have to use, but understanding the job overview, if I may talk about or I should say the roles and responsibilities as a data analyst you have. Now you have to understand one thing very specifically: be it any job, you have to solve a challenge, you have to solve a problem. And one thing which is going to be common among all job roles is common sense. If you don't have it, obviously it will be difficult for you to grow in your career. But you have to understand one thing, that is, without common sense, it will be very difficult, because obviously there is no textbook answer for every kind of a situation which happens with us. I'll give a very simple example. COVID happened. So what happened? Like there was no textbook answer what we are supposed to do. A lot of country went for lockdown, people started experimenting, and we are still experimenting with what is supposed to be done. So you have to understand, you have to use your experience to actually grow yourself. Now, let's try to understand what is actually defining a problem means. Let's take an example. You are an e-commerce application and you are sort of catering to women. You're catering, whatever products you're selling are catering to women. Now, obviously, the sales are going down. Products are not, the products are not getting, I would say, sort of purchase. People are not making order. Like let's say in a month you're expecting around 80% of orders, but you have just received around 50% or maybe 40%. So this is a shocking figure if I talk about. If the graph is something like this, it is not good. If a graph is something like this, where things are happening in a linear fashion, it is understandable, it is normal. But when things go in this kind of a fashion, this is something which is actually quite alarming. And this is where you have to come in and you have to define the problem, that exactly what is happening. Are you aware what is happening? Because based on that only you will be able to analyze what can be done, how to solve that problem, and what could be the possible scenario there. So first of all, understand what is the problem you are solving. Now, the most important thing here, common sense comes in. Obviously, a lot of people can say, okay, maybe people don't want to buy things. This is not common sense. Maybe people can say, okay, rates are high. This is not common sense. Maybe people are saying that something is not working. Again, you have to find out exactly. You cannot just simply give a sort of a magical statement like, okay, probably this, that is why things like people are not purchasing things. You have to understand, and majority of the things are happening within the application itself. Okay, so you have found the problem. Now, next thing you will be doing is actually collect the data. Again, I'll take the example. You are serving women, you are an e-commerce store, and you're serving whatever products you're selling are actually catering to the women audience. Now, you have to understand what is actually the problem. The problem is less number of orders. So from where you have to collect the data is also important, and what kind of a data you have to collect is also important. So you will be collecting data which is revolving around everything like that. I'll give an example. Let's say People are unable to reset their password. That is not the data you would be collecting. Let's say people are not able to make the they are not able to request OTP. Again, is it specifically related to the orders? If yes, that is a good data point that you would be collecting. If it is not, like let's say people are trying to log in again, okay, so this could be very broad, but understand that you have to take the data which is going to be specifically related to your problem, and you have to solve that, because if you're going to make a random assumption, okay, I should collect this data, it is not going to work for you. So collect the data, or I should say collect the right data. You have to collect the right data so that actually you can move towards the problem. So you have collected the data. What is the next step? The next step is very simple. It sounds complex, but it is. A lot of people say it is not required, it is optional. But in my experience, talking to a lot of people who are actually part of this industry, from my personal experience, if your data is not clean, answers will be varying. The answers which you are going to receive related to your problem, like what could be the reason, is going to get an impact around it for a very specific reason. I'll give a very simple example. Let's say if I start talking in a language which you don't understand, you won't be able to understand what I'm trying to say. Similar is the data. Like let's say we have a data which is not clean, the data which is not sufficient, the data which is not matching with our requirement. Obviously with that data, you cannot simply analyze that. I'll give a simple scenario here. Let's say we want to find out like what are the weak points of Sachin Tendulkar. Now obviously we are not going to look into his bowling stats. We are not going to watch him bowl, because obviously this is not something we are actually finding out. What we are finding out, where he's lacking in his batting. Maybe it's the bouncer, maybe it's the short ball, maybe it's the Yorker. So this is the kind of data we have to collect, and make sure that the data is clean also, because this makes the impact. Like let's say again, I'll give a very simple example. In the order page, a lot of people are leaving their city as empty. This is a data point, important data point, because obviously people are trying to order something and they are leaving the city blank. So we have to understand if people are leaving the city blank, or maybe something related to that. So I should clean the data so I can specifically find if this data is coming clean, so that I can make the analysis correct. Now this is the most important point in the whole video, if I may. Visualize the data. Whatever problems you have found, whatever possible scenarios you have found, you have to visualize them, because obviously giving a random number is not going to help you. I'll give a very simple example. People are not able to order products. Let's say what are the possible scenarios? Price. Let's assume price can be one factor. Let's say login fail. Let's say page load. And finally, let's assume the internet speed, if I may, or I should say, okay, we have already covered with page load. So let's assume that these are the three data points which we are sort of finding out what could be the possible reason. So obviously, like let's say price is affecting 5% of the drop rate. Login fail is amounting to around 50%. And page load is affecting around 45%. So this is just the random number which I have, but if I have to draw a graph, it will be something like this. Again, this is not a very perfect graph, but try to understand. I'm able to visualize, okay, what are the challenges, what are the possible scenarios because of which I'm facing that specific problem. I have problem number one, which is sort of pricing. We are assuming that the pricing is affecting our company not to complete the orders. Login page is failing because obviously, like if a person is not able to log in, they won't be able to get their credit card details, or maybe their net banking, whatever that is, they won't be able to share their address, something like that. And finally, the page load. So page load could be something related to, like let's say if someone is trying to open, they are going to the checkout page and the page is not loading properly for them, or it is slow. This could be the possible scenario, and I'm going to visualize it so that I can actually take action against that. The final point as an analyst which you have to take is obviously generate the report. Now, how would you generate the report? The report generation process is basically giving the possible scenario. So like obviously the problem which you have faced, the scenario, the solution. Solution can go to the technical team. Hey, page load speed is slower. That is the specific reason we have seen around 50% of the drop rate. You can go to your technical team. You can say a lot of people are not able to log in properly. That is the specific reason we are seeing 45% of the drop. You can go to the marketing team, or you can go to the sales team, and you can say, okay, 5% of the people are dropping because the pricing, that we have analyzed that they are facing the challenge with pricing. They are not happy with the pricing. So that could be the specific reason. So with the generation of the report, you are actually reaching out to the specific department and you're giving them the scenario. This is the specific reason. Please get it fixed. Your job is not to get it fixed. Your job is to inform that, okay, this is supposed to be fixed. So that is it for this video, guys. In case if you have a question, put that in the comment of this video. And if you need a career guidance related to what is the right path for you, obviously in that case, there is a link which is given in the description of this video. Click that link, fill in the details, and someone from our team will assist you with your right career path.